Hello, Chad. What's going on? Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? Yeah, Jackson by my side. I'm mad because, you know, anyway, it's only December 20th. Is there? I mean, I never really thought about this before, but I mean, is there? I mean, can you? I wonder if a team can be invited to like a later bowl if you get knocked out earlier, but you still have a good. You still our team would travel well. Anyway, it probably doesn't work like this. This is our one and only ball. But if we would have won, then we would have played on January 1st in the Rose Bowl and lost to Indiana, of course. But still, at least we would have been there to do that. That would have been an honor. That would have been an honor to get to do that for sure. Anyway, I've been upset. I've been in mourning because of that. I know you Texans won't have any sympathy for me, but I do love I rooted for A&M and I rooted for and I always root for Texas, of course. And I root for everyone except Baylor, but I usually root for Tech or TCU. I just like Texas teams. All right, guys. Hey, William, how are you doing? Okay, so let's get this show on the road. Okay, so we're going to have a daily factor show tonight. We haven't had a daily factor show in a while or in a couple of nights. But so tonight's daily factor is going to be Saturday night S&P Saturday night special. I was just looking at a long-term chart of Bitcoin, a daily chart, and I put it on a log scale and was drawing a trend line. And man, this trend line, I mean, that it broke right around 102. I remember in real time when it happened, it broke it and then retested it. But in any event, it's just such a perfect textbook rejection, and that just opens the door to lower prices, and that's what we're doing. We're discovering lower prices. Do we have lower to go? Who knows? Revert to mean. There's one mean that's around 67 on this chart, but the true mean on this log chart is at 27. I mean, anyway, I know this isn't about Bitcoin. I'll try not to get off on a tangent, but this just goes to show garbage in, garbage out, or the computer program can only know what you put in. We can look back. We can look back over just the past 250 incidences. In other words, I can zoom it in, and mean on that chart is actually much higher. Mean on that chart would be 109 or whatever. And then not to mention, you can also look in different time frames. But all right, I'm going to put this back on 1,000. I think 1,000's fair. I think 250's too zoomed in. So 1,000 is like 3 years if we're in days. I mean, so I mean, to think about that, in the 3-year mean on this thing, is it really that low? I mean, I guess so, but I don't know. I'm not so sure I'm buying that. Jackson, what are you doing, bud? I'm not so sure I'm buying that. Let's look somewhere else. Let's try to verify it somewhere else. Anyway, okay. I do have a good show planned out for you guys tonight. I made graphics and everything. Okay. So tonight is S&P night. So where is my S&P? Here we go. S&P 500 Saturday night special. Okay. Let's start. Let's always do, and let's just go yield chasing. We'll start at the highest yield and we'll go down from there. So I'm making sure I'm sharing the screen, and I'm not positive I am, but let's make sure you guys can see this. Yeah, I don't see any comments. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, so let's look over here. Look at the yield on this thing. The yield on WDTE is 35. I mean, I guess that makes sense. It used to be like 60 or 50. This is when it was unconstrained, it paid 50, 60, something like that. This is the old, and it used to be called JEPY, JEPY, but they had to switch it because the people that owned JEPI, JP Morgan, were not happy about it. So they had to switch it, and now they're WDTE, whatever. XDTE, this is Round Hill's version, similar idea. SDTY also. These are all very similar strategies. Zero DTE, they're all zero DTE strategies, every one of those. There's SPY-T is an interesting one here, yielding 21%. This is actually a target fund. I'm trying to think if this is zero DTE. I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, then we have XV. That is that one is what is that one? A barrier fund, a target fund, a kind of a target barrier fund, something like that. We have XPay. I figured we throw in XV, XPay, and SPY-T, just to have those kind of to have that 15 to 20% target fund kind of covered. Then CLM, I mean, it's only fair to throw in CLM. I almost didn't leave it in. I wanted to leave stuff that was just directly SPY, because I didn't put in things like will and other things that are good and safe, but I just pretty much made it SPY only. So it's SPY plus CLM. CLM is just, and so anyway, then T-SPY. T-SPY is a good one, yielding 13.78. Then we have XYLD. XYLD yields 12.68. SPY-I yielding 11.6%. We have SBAR yielding 11.1. RSPA yielding 9%. SPIN yielding 8.4. SPUT yielding 5.6%. And then iSPY, and that's actually a bad number. iSPY is not yielding that low. I need to fix that. Okay, so this is probably not what you guys are going to be interested in. I mean, this is more up my, let's look at the stable deck, see which one of these bad boys is most stable. It's XYLD. All right, and they sell monthly options. I mean, and they manage their withdrawals. They don't pay you all the money. I mean, it's super boring and steady. SPUT, they sell monthly, I think, puts on the S&P put options, but really long-term put options, super safe stuff. SBAR, same type thing. They do some type of barrier structure, which means they don't really have to worry about the first 15% as far as the loss goes. They have, I think, a 15% barrier before they lose any money. XV, similar deal. RSPA. So anyway, these right here are the ones that I would expect to be the safest, because they either have some type of barrier or they're using monthly options or whatever. And so sure enough, on the stable decks, all of those, and then SPY-I, WDTE, those are the ones more as stable as the market. And then on the less stable side, we have XDTE, XPay, CLM. And even though CLM is less stable, it's still a 91 out of 100. It's fine, but I mean, it's on the less stable side. Anyway, just for what it's worth, I just like metrics. Okay, so we can sort it by Moxie. Moxie's iSpy is number one. I don't think anyone did. I know a lot of you guys like that one. XDTE is number two. SPY-T is number three. XPay. I hear people talk about how much they like these all the time. Maybe not some of them, but all the time on some of them. T-SPY, you hear people talk about that all the time. I've never heard anyone mention RSPA. But anyway, so that's one way to look at it. That's one way, and I like Moxie, but the Max's the real ratings are right here, the short-term max factor. All right, so here's the actual rankings. XYLD is number one. It's yielding 12%. The NAV went from 39 to, I mean, the NAV's only up $1. It's only up 2.9%, but it did that. And this is twice, mathematically, it's twice as stable as the market. This is the more boring snooze fest, of a fund. They sell, I think, at the money options, in the monthly time frame. It's a snooze fest. They don't pay all the money. They pay some of the money and they hold some of the money back. Anyway, Spin is number two, but the max factor loves snooze fest. So look at Spin. Spin doesn't make as much yield. Spin only makes 8.4%, but it makes more than twice as much NAV return this quarter. And now the problem is Spin's only about half as stable, but Spin's still pretty dang stable. It's market stability, paying an 8% yield with NAV that's, heck yeah, give me some of that. And look at that. And of course, CLM, I don't think I'd have any problem from you guys on. Look at CLM. I mean, 19% yield. This is without figuring rights offerings, without anything like that. NAV is up a point. That's fine, whatever. So we'll call that flat, but it's paying a 19% yield. But I mean, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. All right. And then number after that is SPUT. It only pays 5.6%. We never talk about this one. RSPA, we never talk about that one. It only pays 9%, but they're just steady as can be. Think about that. They're even steadier than SPY. Let's look at SPUT and RSPA. Yeah, on the stable dex, they are quite a bit more stable than the market, and even more stable than SPY, which is a good stable fund, but even more stable than SPY or T-SPY or I-SPY. Not that stableness is the only thing. Stableness is one of many factors. Like I always say, you don't want to be overly stable. You can be definitely overly stable. Stableness can hurt your return. Too much stableness can be a bad thing. All right. CLM and CRF have kept your account. Heck yeah. Good job. Good job, Chad. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. Let me switch my styles here. RDT, XDT, QDT are they solid as rocks. I mean, we can put them up against, and I probably should, against the market. And yeah, but this is just SPY tonight. Here's the SPY one that I'm kind of wondering about. We'll look in a second. Let's finish this out. And then just going down the list, it goes XV, XPay, SDT, SPY-T, XDT. I wonder why any of them are last. Let me see I'm trying to see what they're doing wrong that the max factor doesn't like, and I see it. The quarterly NAV is negative. That's the biggest factor. So, but it's not like these are the worst funds ever. WDTE has paid a 35% yield and it has negative 4% NAV. However, there's better choices out there. Like this one that has positive NAV and pays 19%. So, I mean, but it's not, that's why it's down there. These choices are just relative to each other. The max factor is not an absolute number. WDTE might actually work in certain portfolios in certain circumstances, but in this one, there's There's better ones out there though. But if you just wanted a high dividend and you were all right with taking a little bit of NAV decay, WDTE or XDTE, could maybe fit that bill. Even something like SPY-T pays 21%. It's a 20% target fund. NAV's down 3.3%, but that's not really that bad. NAV's down 3%, if you aren't looking for growth and you aren't looking for growth, but you don't want something that's going to get killed, ideally, that SPY-T is doing a pretty good job. What I'm really looking forward to seeing on here is QLDY. So anyway, all right, Michael, what are you talking about here? You bought a small amount of LW on Friday at 44.50, buying 1,000 more shares, climb back to 55, then 65 for the next earnings, and then left out the same, raised the dividend to 38 cents. Heck yes, some of that LW, huh? Good luck with that. Greg is talking to Chad and saying, Chad, AI come up with a portfolio for me, and it's 25% SPY, 25% Synth, and 15% QLDY, and 15% SGov, and 20% CAIE. I like that portfolio. I like that. I mean, that's a really tough portfolio right there. 25% SPY, 25% Synth, which is just the SPY basically, a different way to do it, but the SPY with less risk. So then QLDY, which is just the Qs basically with a little more risk, but in a cool way though. And then SGov and CAIE. I think that sounds like a tough one, not financial advice. Okay, quarterly dividend increased 3% to 38 per share, liquidity. So yeah, that's LW closed at 43.90. Heck yeah. Now, weren't you used to be really into Merck, right? Or was that you? Or you used to always be talking about another stock. I know that it's probably been lots of stocks that you talk about, but I always associate you with one of the big pharma ones. Yeah, I mean, the QLDY is incredible. I mean, it's okay. Well, so let's look at that. Let's look at the divas. I mean, the divas had a very good day the other day. And I mean, I'm not, they have a long way to go. A long way to go. What's that a chart of? IBIT? I mean, IBIT just cannot, this is on the 200-day moving average. IBIT's been in a bear market since my birthday, since mid-October. I mean, it went into a bear market, then it went out and went back in. But I mean, it's anyway, it's a solid bear market. Pretty much the last time it did that was, March and April of last year. But anyway, all right, I was just going to look at the I'm working on the daily factor, getting a new, trying to make some better content, like a newsletter or something. And this was Thursday's newsletter summary or whatever. And then this is today's, it's not the greatest at doing this yet. I do like this right here. It's showing how much the assets under management. Jackson. Hang on. All right. I had it figured out at one time where they were showing me, it was able to show me how much assets under management came in through inflows to the fund versus how much came in because of the fund's assets actually going up or down. And that to me is really interesting. This just shows the change overall. But anyway, so this is still a work in progress. But like I say, I need to work with their. They don't understand that it doesn't matter to me that they went from 99 to 70 contracts. Anyway. Yeah, what I'd like to know is, are they closing positions, starting new ones? But I can work with AI on this. But anyway, okay, so that's that. But yeah, it was just a rare good day. I mean, the other day was just absolutely incredible for ULTI to finish up 8.9% unhedged. That's what happens when you're unhedged. The day before that, when the market was getting killed, they were unhedged and they were down big unhedged. I mean, so you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Let me show you what they were down. And hedging isn't the only, just because you're hedged, it's not like, oh, shoot, if you would have been hedged, everything would have been all right. Hedging has a cost like everything else. And you might be hedged and might save yourself that one time or whatever, but the rest of the times kill your returns so much. I was just looking over here at this new fund called S100. You guys know about this one? This is a cool fund. I was just looking at their option positions, what they're doing. Anyway, all right, we'll talk about that some other time. But on to the divas, on to the daily percent change. I was going to show you guys the other day, unhedged ULTI was down 5.7, and 2 days before that, ULTI was down 10.4. That wasn't too long ago. And gosh darn it. But live by the sword, die by the sword. And then he goes back up, and now he's up 9% the next day. And before that, yesterday, he was up 2%. So, my gosh. My gosh. But yeah, the most impressive one on this is this rolling total. This is the worst chart in the history of charts. Maybe this is a little better, but what's impressive about this is this one right there, QLDY. Heck yes. See that one? Not SPY. SPY's down a little bit. Chippy's down a little bit. Q's down 1.9. Okay, that's fine. QLDY down 2.8. And we're talking almost 2 months now. And there's less than a percentage point is separating these two. And it's an amazing technology. And yes, it's not making money, granted, but it's not losing as much as any of these supposedly better strategy, like K-Yield and WPay. These are the premier strategies from Round Hill and from Curve, and they're all behind QLDY. It's more to it than that. You can definitely say that, and it is nice to look at ULTI bounce. Oh my gosh. Look at that they were down. They were down so bad there, 30, 40% maybe. And now they're down 32. Anyway. All right. Well, that's some good stuff to look at. All right. What else you guys want to talk about? But yeah, I wanted to show you guys the divas. And I think these are the latest option positions and stuff. But these are what every individual stock was up the other day. They had IREN and it's up 11. Or I don't know if they had, I think they had it. But now their current position is 2.94%. but it was up 11% the other day. But their position going into Monday is this one. So and here's all their option positions. Yeah, this report's getting better. I'm going to keep this diversified divas. I know I was having my problems with Claude, but I think I've got Claude doing better. I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna make this newsletter where it's a lot better and it's more. You guys will see. You guys will see. Someday you'll say, "Yeah, I remember when this report sucked," and it's a lot better now. All right. So what's going on? Oh yeah, Pfizer. That's right. It was Pfizer. It was Pfizer. Okay. So LW's adjusted earnings were 69 cents per share. It sounds like an Elon Musk joke or something. Is it going to be at 420 or they? I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Um, Lamb and Weston. Well, they make the best fries I have ever had. Um, fries are taking a hit. And actually, because I haven't been buying their product, but they do have a really darn good product. But I've actually been using. I'm trying to think who I'm using now. The competitor. I mean, anyway. Yeah, Lamb Weston. Okay, I got you. I got you. Um, yeah, I got you. Okay, do funds such as Big Y in a regular brokerage account get taxed as ordinary? Well, that's a good question. That's a good question. Yeah, of course they do. I mean, um, but But yeah, so that sucks. Funds that earn a yield, especially if you aren't earning the yield, if you're just reinvesting it and then end up owing taxes. I don't know if that's where you're going, but yeah, they but um, what is wild is QLDY pays twice a week. It's crazy. Cloud needs to be named Sandra. Claude needs to be named Sandra. You think? You think QLDY might be Defiance's best fund? Well, I mean, that's not a real high bar to be fair. But I mean, yeah, I'm just joking. I mean, there's nothing wrong with triple QT and Spy T if somebody was looking for that. But yeah, but a lot of their other funds haven't really measured up. So, but no, yeah, definitely, I'd say so too. Definitely, it's definitely their best fund. It's not only their best fund; it's one of the best funds out there. It's so good, you might think it was. If you didn't know what it was and you were just looking at the performance, you might say Neos, or you might say Curve. If you didn't know, I mean, heck yeah, it's a good looking fund, and the fact that it pays twice a week. I mean, I mean, Jackson, what's going on, buddy? Oh, I thought he was wondering at me. No, I don't want to do Fitbiz. I want to do. Come on. I'm retarded. It should be one of the. All right. I was going to say, for a while, it was beating a lot of things. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah. And it's paying twice a week. I mean, that's could be, if you don't need the income, that can hurt you because you're paying taxes on it, like I always say. But maybe you're using the income and maybe you don't need it, but you're deploying it and doing other stuff with it. Then, and that's cool. But I mean, sure, if you don't need the income, that's great that you don't need the income, but you could just get something like TQQQ or whatever, just QQQ and not worry about it. But I mean, this is basically the same difference. I mean, on a total return basis, I mean, the NAV dropped $3 on this thing. So but it paid you $5 in divvies. And the NAV dropped not $3, actually more like 275, but it paid you 450 in divvies. So I mean, if you don't need the money, the yield, then the Qs would be, just get the Qs. But if you need a little yield, maybe you drip half of it and spend half of it or something. I mean, you could do worse than this fund. It sure looks like. I mean, so it's a perfect quarter. It dropped $2 and a quarter, whatever. I mean, it's not great that it's NAV dropped, but I don't think that would. I think in a more bullish quarter, the NAV would really shine. I don't know though. But let's look at this. Let's do it compared to like a benchmark that we all know and love. I mean, triple QI holds its NAV better, but it pays about half the yield. So it really ought to hold its NAV better. It's kind of a just pick either one of those could work, but triple QI is definitely more conservative, pays less, holds the NAV better, but pays a little less too. So it all goes in there. Anyway, all right. Well, yeah, I'm on. It's 11:03. It's 11:03 here in Hill Country, Texas time. Yeah. No, it is. I'm on. Yeah, living on Tulsa time. Another Tulsa time is the thing people used to say in Oklahoma. I'm on Tulsa time. Anyway, but heck yeah. But no, it's also a Texas OU thing too. I couldn't even hear the TV. I'm sorry. My bad. Yeah, I know OU does. I'm still depressed though. I hate after the season's done. I mean, I just it's been a good season. We're doing a lot better and stuff, but it's such a depressing time after the season's done and knowing you have another 9 months, even 8 months before you even start hearing about it and start even thinking about it. It's the most awful thing ever. Oh, I hate it. All right, so let's go see what some others. Let's try to get ourselves in trouble here. So, what were we talking about? We could look at like maybe let's compare blocks to XBTY, right, from Granite Shares. And what other kind of crypto stuff can we compare it to? Maybe LFGY. maybe SEPI. YBTC, and then YBIT. Man, they're all doing bad. I mean, just because, because cryptos depends on when you start. But if you go out here to, I guess, the furthest back they all go, which is only July, that's not very far. Some of these are new. What's so new? Well, one of these right here, this green one, I don't know, that's just the moving average. That's blocks. Okay. Well, anyway, whatever. But if we go back to when they all started, they're all doing poorly. But it's amazing that blocks was able to get far enough ahead that even though it's dropping like a rock on down days, it put on a big enough lead. I mean, I don't know what that's called. I mean, but I mean, that's amazing. The blocks is still ahead of these guys, because it gets killed on down days. But I mean, the market has up days and down days, and right now on average, it's ahead. But there's other good choices. So who's this bright blue line right here? That's SEPI. I mean, SEPI does the same stuff. It just less volatile. It lower peaks, lower valleys, right? And then this yellow line right here is, who's the yellow line right here? LFGY. Well, okay. All right. And then there's a light yellow line right here. That's YBIT. Okay. And then this purple line is probably YBTC. And this green line is XBTY. But anyway, that's amazing how well blocks is done. It's also amazing that blocks is up at all, given, I mean, it hasn't been a great time. I mean, let's do this though. Let's do YBIT on a new pane. All right, I just wanted to get YBIT. This has been problematic for a lot of stuff. Just the price of Bitcoin generally. I just hope the market continues to bounce. Yeah, I know you guys are giving me trouble about OU. Imagine paying 500 to sit with 100,000 people. Yeah, I hear you. Thought 50 Cent was going to rally the troop. It's a long 9 month to wait. Yeah. Oh, well, it's not. I'm not the only fan that has to go through a whole summer of it. I mean, anyway, all right. You were watching ESPN, and Pat and his gang were not having it. All right, Michael, what are you saying? Altimmune pronounced that its drug candidate Permivitide achieved key measures of success at 48 weeks, including significant improvements in non-invasive markers of liver fibrosis and continued weight loss. The data supported the advancing the drug to phase 3 program with FDA alignment. ALT sold off that people didn't understand data. I think the 2-day bounce was a dead cat. Bounce only. I'm going to need some. Your liver's taking a beating. Yeah, heck yeah. Heck yeah. No, I hear that. I hear that. That was mine back in the days. Holidays are rough times. All right, I have a good video coming out. I'm actually working on a good video. Here's a hint right here. See this S100? Now I'm working on the S100. They're selling call spreads, and I put one of their trades in here. But this isn't really, I mean, this is it, but they also own a bunch of stocks, so they don't have a loss. If the market does this, goes up this way, they have a huge gain in their stock portfolio. And it's, so anyway, I was looking at this S100 is I mean, it's potentially could be interesting. I don't think it's ever going to be a QLDY. I mean, QLDY is QLDY is the bomb. No, I'm just joking. So all right, S100 just came out. Well, QLDY bled off 5% really quick. What the heck, QLDY? What are you doing to me, QLDY? You bled off 4.5%. S100 didn't even barely move. I'm done with QLDY. Sell QLDY right now. Sell. All right, well, let's look at QLD. We did have a big down day in the NASDAQ, right? Yeah, the NASDAQ was down 2% day before yesterday or something. So something like that, right? Anyway, so that would explain that 2 days ago. Anyway, still, we're going down and to the right, but it's defiance. I mean, it's paid 10% in this short amount of time. So 20, 30, I'd say 35 to 40. So, and it pays twice a week. I mean, and they could make it pay daily. That's amazing. I never look at the AUM on this thing. It's only 31 million. That's really nothing. People don't even realize what it is or whatever. Just think they could do the lightning. They could do this on more fun names, but this is just on the index. They could easily lightning spread an individual names fund, and I think that's what old Tuttle's doing. He's coming out with a lightning spread meme stock fund. When people wanted them to fix Alti, they should have just changed it to lightning spread. And I'm just joking, but I mean that would have fixed it. I mean, they could have done what they did anyway. Switch the stock selection around, but switch it to lightning spread. Just switch it where they own stocks where they do exactly what Blocks does. And it's going to suck on down days. But I mean, on up days, Katie, bar the freaking door. That would have been one way to fix it. There's no real way to fix it that would make everyone happy. But I mean, that's, you could also just cut the dividend, but that's not really fixing it, but I mean, but that would also fix it. Anyway, all right. So, yeah, S100. Let me show you what this thing is right here. Thank you for asking. S100 is, so the symbol is SIOO, and it's Vista shares, and it's a target 50. Oh, hang on just a second. Yeah, I shut the door because the TV was loud. I didn't even really hear the TV, but somebody said something in the comments. And all right, I mean the TV was loud. Now that I think back on it, yeah. So this Vista shares thing, this is the coolest thing ever. So there used to be something called the S&P 100, which was called the OEX. You could either trade OEX options or SPX options. But back in the day, the S&P 100 was, anyway, whatever. And I'm talking in the late 80s and 90s. The OEX options were really in. But then people all got in the S&P 500. No one ever talked about the S&P 100 anymore. So, but it recently came back. So Vista Shares is, and they're actually using OEX options, which is the old S&P 100. So it's based on an index instead of the 500 biggest stocks, the 100 biggest stocks. So it's just concentrated. It's the same thing as any of these other ones. I mean, that, Mag 7 just gives you the 7 biggest ones. Well, it just concentrates down, any of these kind of concentrated. So the S&P 100 is just a biggie. That's an example. Big Y's, excellent fund that a lot of people, that no one really likes. But be that as it may, let's compare it against QLDY. But that's what it does. It just looks at the 50 biggest funds in the S&P or stocks. Well, all it's doing is it's concentrating to the biggest. So you're just buying momentum. It's basically a momentum strategy. Even just investing in indexes basically is passively kind of a momentum strategy. Yeah, no. Look at Biggie. Biggie is just spanking QLDY. Biggie's saying, QLDY, get out of here. Just sit down and shut up, QLDY. That's what Biggie's saying. Look at that. I mean, and Biggie looks like it's a lot less volatile. It looks like it wasn't losing as much on the way down, but I can't really see. Yeah, look at this. Biggie's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing, QLDY? Why do you guys lose so much on down days? Now, but and QLDY goes, man, can't you make any money on an up day? They're doing the same thing, fishing in the same pond. It's like I always say, but the math is a little bit different. The way it's totally different. Totally different. Biggie's selling covered calls and call spreads, but they're selling premium on the call side. QLDY is selling premium on the put side. And there's other differences too, but that's the main difference. Selling premium on the put side really hurts you in a down market, but it really could help you in an up market. Anyway, but that's just a good illustration of it right there. But yeah, QLDY is, or Biggie's saying, get out of here, QLDY. Biggie's saying, hey, QLDY, take your 2 payments a week and you can, I'm just joking. Yeah. QLDY is impressive though. I'm just joking. Honestly, I was just giving everyone a hard time. I was just joking, but it's impressive. They can make a fund that pays twice a week. And they filed for it where they could make it pay once a day and they wouldn't have to change the filing. It's filed to be a daily payer. So they're only electing to pay twice a week, which I think is fine. But they could literally switch it to a 3 times a week, no problem. They could pay Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And so I guess you declare, how would you do that? You declare Friday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and then you have X day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But they could do that. They could definitely do that. Yeah, Big Y is something else. So Big Y is benefiting, for one thing, Big Y is benefiting from momentum. Momentum's been a great play lately. Big Y also benefits from that it doesn't pay a high yield. Paying a low yield is almost like a cheating of a way to get extra NAV upside. That's like the easy way to get extra NAV upside. Just pay a really low yield. That's, but that's the thing. QLDY doesn't do that. They don't do we're just going to pay a really low yield off the get-go. But to be fair, because of that, though, QLDY's NAV was down $3. If you care about NAV, it was down $3 here, and Big Y's NAV was actually up 50 cents. Now it's just a quarter of a year, but I mean, but it's something to think about. Yeah, take all your payments and exactly. Now I was just joking about that. Take your twice a week payment and just go take it and just go do something with it twice a week. Yeah, pay every second. I mean, why not? I mean, it's just numbers on a spreadsheet. I mean, I would someday they'll probably have investments that pay you instantly, or they just accrue in real time. I mean, because it's just moving numbers on a spreadsheet. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're a long way from that, but that's my idea. All right. So, what else do we want to talk about? Is there anything else we want to talk about? What's Bitcoin doing tonight? Bitcoin just grinding. I did want to show off the divas. The divas are doing terrible lately, and we should be realistic and look at the divas. They still, even after the other day's bounce, they are so far underwater. I'm not, trying to tell anyone to hang on or whatever that's in them or whatever. I just like following them. I think they're interesting funds. All right, so Bitcoin is just grinding. I mean, just straight sideways. Right here at 88. It got up here at 89 or 90. That was too high. And it got down here and 84, 83 was too low. And then it bounced up here. And hopefully we'll go take back this mean up here at 90. I mean, that would be great. We tried the other day, but we just rejected off of it. We tried right there. Basically, we rejected off of it there, came close there and there. So anyway, all right. Well, that's Bitcoin. So that's 24-hour charts. Let's see. So I think I had one other thing to show you guys. All right. Here's 1 week. This is on stocktools.app. Let's look at the 1 week returns. Okay, here we have it. Murney, are you freaking serious? Is Murney on a 1 week return? Murney. All right, well then Fiat, PLTW, wow. TSLW, man, that's good to see. I have both of those as a part of WPay. Winter, TS2, Abney, TSLP. Boy, a great week for Tesla and Palantir and NVIDIA for that matter. But even TSLY got in on some of the action down here. Good job. Good job. I always like to see that. Everyone's getting some Bitcoin for Christmas. So Chad's one of these guys who thinks Bitcoin will eventually go to 1 million. Well, I sure hope you're right. Boy, that would be exciting. Can you imagine what that would do for blocks? Blocks would be, because I mean, it's one thing if Bitcoin goes to 1 million, that's great. But the kinds of stocks that blocks tracks will do great if Bitcoin goes to 1 million. So I'm saying blocks is going to do even that much better selling those put spreads on those stocks and going to be paying a yield that's going to basically be like free money, even though there's no such thing as free money, because it's going up and the fund's catching a lot of upside just through owning the stock. Even though it's putting off a yield, it's going to seem almost like free money because that would be so exciting. That would be so exciting. You remember when Bitcoin was around $3? Yeah. That's like when you hear old man talking about, I remember when gasoline was 50 cents a gallon. I used to go down to the general store and I used to get a gallon of milk for 50 cents. And I used to get a carton of cigarettes for $3 or just some crazy stuff. I mean, oh gosh. All right. Well, I'm being silly now. Sounds like we're around from the same day. Yep. I still told the story of my buddy trading Bitcoin through gift cards back in the day, back in my day. You remember? So I remember my mom used to send me to get cigarettes for her, and they would sell them to me, and because they knew that I wasn't. I forget if she had to write me a note or I don't think so. Um, they knew it, or who knows? I mean, I could have been fooling them, but I wasn't. But I used to get candy cigarettes from the same store. I used to love to get candy cigarettes, but no, I would get cigarettes from my mom. But back in the day, on the way home from school or whatever, she'd send me. But I'm trying to think. I think she'd send me with $5. This was like 76, 77, 78, something like that. And I think cigarettes were 350 or something, maybe. Or maybe I could know. Maybe she gave me money for a Coke too. I'm trying to think, or maybe she just gave me a couple of bucks. I've never been a cigarette guy, so I don't know, but I just know I used to get them from her, for her, on my way home from school in the mid 70s, 76, 77, at this little store. So yeah, I wonder what they were back then. They're probably a couple bucks. I think she sent me with the five. Or the other thing was that she would send me with checks and stuff. I mean, it was just such a different day in small towns. People just knew each other, and you could just get away with murder. I mean, you could write a check on money you didn't have, and but you knew you were going to get, and then play beat the bank. I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff. Nowadays you could never get away with stuff like that. Anyway, I'm not recommending that either. All right. Yeah. Let's go back to those times. I remembered. I used to love those times. I used to love going down to Texaco and filling up. What I remember is gas was less than $1. When I first started driving, I want to say it was right around $1 a gallon. But it was right around that amount. But don't you think it's weird that they quit doing leaded gasoline, and then like the homicide rate went way down? Do you believe that, or is that just some liberal BS? I mean, they say that leaded gas, there's no serial killers and no just like psychotic. We still have psychotic people, but they're mostly podcasters nowadays. But we don't. But in the 70s, used to have like the Son of Sam, and you'd have psychotic people that would be like serial killers. So, and I've seen people try to make a case that it's tied to taking the lead out of gasoline. Anyway, maybe I'll do a podcast, not a podcast on that, but maybe I'll do a review on that. But I would love to go back to those times. That the 70s was such a great time, and the 80s and the 90s. I really like the 90s, early internet days, dial up and like CompuServe and stuff, 88, 89, 90, 91, early dial up and that kind of stuff. Those were good times for the internet. I thought I would love to go back there. Great times for music. The 90s was a classic time for music. Leaded gas coincided with the times of no catalytic converters. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Has anyone else ever heard that study? I've heard somebody try to say that's a thing, that leaded gas has something to do with the violence in society. And whenever leaded gas disappeared, so the violence, I mean, who knows? It's probably some crazy freaking study from Harvard, and they're probably trying to blame it on, I'm just joking. I don't know. Hey, yeah. Well, okay, that's okay. And I wasn't trying to go down that rabbit hole, but yeah, good point. I mean, yeah. What about? I've been hearing for like 20 years. We have 10 years left. my whole life. I've been, anyway. Yeah, Florida's going to be under. I've heard it all. I've heard it all. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, now the crack cocaine epidemic, that was something else, but that I think that just happened at the same time because when did leaded gas not become a thing anymore? I think in the 90s, and crack cocaine was definitely a thing in the late 80s, and yeah. Anyway, I'm just gonna Google it or AI it really quick. Yes, a major theory, the lead crime hypothesis, strongly links the removal of lead gasoline to a significant drop in the U.S. violent crimes, including murder, starting in the 90s, as childhood lead exposure from exhaust fumes is a neurotoxin that impairs brain development, leading to aggression and antisocial behavior later in life. Research suggests that reducing lead in the environment could explain a substantial portion, some say to 90% of the decline in violent crime, with effects appearing decades later. That's interesting. Have you guys ever, I don't know if this is, I was going to copy and paste it, but you guys know how to use Google. It's probably some BS liberal stuff, probably anti-gasoline people. They're probably that are anti-fossil fuels, anti-everything. And so now I don't know. I'm anti-violent crime. It would be awesome if this was true. And it probably is. It probably is. Now, what they're also saying that the lead crime hypothesis is not mutually exclusive with other explanations than the U.S. drop in crime rates, which includes analysis of the hypothesized legalized abortion in crime effect. I never heard of that one. Anyway, the difficulty in measuring the effect of lead exposure on crime rates in separating the effect from other indicators such as poverty, poor schools, nutrition, medical care. They used to always say in the summer, the murder rates would go up and stuff. But, when they had this leaded gasoline up there, and you get up there in the hot summer up there in Philly or somewhere, and then they'd have a freaking crime wave. All right, guys. Well, anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. Oh yeah, the windmill thing. That's kind of an example too. And I know you're laughing with me, not at me. But yeah, chasing rabbits, chasing yield. Heck yeah, blue cities. I agree with all of this stuff wholeheartedly. Denzel made it look cool. I knew you were being facetious. I knew it. I'm just giving you guys a hard time. I was being facetious too. But anyway, what's the group of blamers looting? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Academics are the reason for half the problems we have now. These freaking people, the ivory towers, the people that actually do the work are the ones that need to make the laws, not the people that make the laws. We have a whole class of people that all they do is make the laws. They don't have to abide by them, but they just get to make them. So anyway, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all for being here. All right. Be looking for the show on S100. It should be out tomorrow. And also my top 20 show should be out tomorrow also. So be looking for both of those shows. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you all for being here. And sorry I started a little bit late tonight, but I thought this was a good show. And I will talk to you guys later.